Yo, Bill Skarsgard in this movie was absolutely insane. That's right, y'all. Today we're talking about a remake from a 1992 silent German film that was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And often I don't glaze new horror movies. There's been a few like Barbarian or X that I was really fond of, but Nosferatu really might take the cake. It might be a modern classic. Robert Eggers showed that he is a transcendent director, from his set designs, to his dialogue, to his immaculate details of history, and how he can invoke dread in just one frame. I'm a huge horror hound, and I love vampires, and this movie really exceeded expectations for me, so I'm very stoked to talk about it. Come hang out. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I am your host, Count Dill. We're on the journey of 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get there, but that's okay because the journey's been lit anyway. I've got some great supporters on this page that give me phenomenal feedback and great conversations. If you're new to the channel, now is the time to join. I know for a fact we're popping off soon, so I don't want to be the one to say, I told you so. If nostalgic horror, creepy stuff, and good laughs sounds like a grand old time to you, and if you want to see a vampire slurp on somebody's chest like a juice box, come hang out and give me a subby. I might be the first YouTube critic ever to say a movie went dummy mode. No, but in all seriousness, Robert Eggers is one of those directors that has been on my radar for the longest time. I actually saw The Witch when it first came out in theaters, like opening day 2015, and I was sold on the hype before a lot of people were. Actually, Anna Taylor-Joy actually liked my tweet back in the day, before that shit was X, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna be famous. And from on, Eggers just became more prevalent. From The Witch, to The Lighthouse, to The Northman, all the way to Nosferatu, he has slowly evolved as a filmmaker. And a lot of people have been riding the coattails, riding the nuts of The Lighthouse, and I ain't dogging that film. It's a masterpiece on its own. But does Nosferatu rise above that? The original Nosferatu movie came out, and this one was a blatant ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula, to the point where Bram Stoker himself was like, bro, you all can't make this movie. You guys ain't robbing my stuff like that. And the Germans were like, dude, we got a banger on our hands. And that film was originally called Count Orlok, and there was many comparisons obviously drawn, not trying to nerd out or tell you stuff you already know, but Count Dracula, Count Orlok. Ellen from Nosferatu is based off Mina from Dracula. Dr. Bueller is Van Helsing's counterpart, and even Herr Knock is kind of like a Renfield. But there were some liberties and adjustments made, like for example in Dracula, the sun just is a pest to Dracula, like kind of like the dude from Benchwarmers, where like he sees the sun and he just gets terrified by it. But in Nosferatu, the sun can actually kill Orlok. Or even that Count Orlok's shadow has a altering power on people's minds as well. They took the story from Bram and they're like, we're making a movie, and since then Nosferatu has become regarded as one of the most scariest and prolific horror movies of all time, despite the discrepancies and divisive nature behind it. And it's insane to say that there's been a remake of a movie from 100 years ago. Like, that is really cool in itself, and it just shows the fact that Eggers is a historian, history buff, nerd, and the way he communicated this film transcends that, all the way from the ancient dialect that they revived for Nosferatu to speak, from the set pieces and the little nods at history. It really works phenomenal. And I don't think I have anything bad to say about this movie, starting off with the character Ellen, who from a young age has had an eternal dark bond towards Count Orlok. Oh my god. Why? So this young woman, Ellen, played by Lily Rose Depp, has a eternal dark web wrapped around her from Count Orlok. And essentially, before she had met her newfound husband, Thomas, when she was in a dark place, Nosferatu's parasitic trance kind of entrenched her in this insatiable love that she felt like nothing could break until she met Thomas. So the movie takes place years after the trauma and torment and rebuilding her life from Count Orlok's destruction. And this ain't a spoiler review, this is just me talking about the parts about the movie that I found fascinating. And first and foremost, I want to get out of the way, Bill Skarsgard performance, the reason y'all came here. Dude, like, I didn't look up any spoilers, I didn't watch many of the trailers because I was genuinely intrigued with what Eggers was going to do with this film. And I'm just going to say, not only did it live up to the hype of Nosferatu's performance, but it totally subverted my expectations. I genuinely had an idea in my mind what I thought they were going to do. Like, for example, when Bill Skarsgård played Pennywise back in 2017, you know, it was very loosely close enough to Tim Curry's adaptation rendition, but with a little minor tweaks. And sometimes in movies when they have vampires or monsters, as deep and intricate as a performer tries to go, it's still shallow and surface level, and they really can't engage that character. But there was not one single part in this movie that I looked at Count Orlok and I was like, yeah, that's an actor playing that. Behind the prosthetics and makeup is Bill Skarsgård. If you hadn't told me Bill Skarsgård played that character, I would have had no idea. From not only just the visceral corpse-like appearance, but from the dialect and tone. Like, he literally spoke from his gut. Like, he was trained by opera singers to deliver powerful vibrato command to his voice, and you could hear that in every single line he delivered. It you could feel it resonating out of him, like a spirit coming from the undead. Everything he said so matter of fact, so certain, so ancient, like he's been around for hundreds of years. With a powerful creature like that, you cannot sway them or convince them otherwise. Even without the supernatural aspect, a person like that is pretty much the force that drives people mad. The look was just, like I said, I did not expect him to look like that. Eggers did say previously he wanted to go for a more undead look, more than a traditional vampire. I'm just saying right now that whatever they created was a perfect blend of vampire, undead, ancient soul, and it was just done in a way that was not cliche at all, so I gotta clap my hands for that. And yes, as a vampire, there are some scenes in here where Count Orlok does have to suck some blood out of some people, and the way they do it is just so animalistic and brutal. Like, it's insane. Like, usually in movies it's all like seductive and he kisses their neck and bites them and they're like, oh fuck. But in this one, he literally like cracks them open like a Gatorade bottle from the chest, and he just I can't even explain how gritty it is. He just like chugs the energy and the blood out of them, bro. It's insane. And Eggers did a phenomenal job crafting this entire story from start to finish, learning about Ellen's obsession with Orlok, to Thomas getting this big promotion and having to travel to Transylvania to encounter Orlok. They don't take too much time hiding Nosferatu. Like, you get to see him a decent amount, and I respected that and appreciated that. And just the cinematography was lovely. I'm a big simp for atmosphere and camera work, and it's just shot beautifully. Like, every single frame, you're like, that's not a set piece. From the little German village to the mountains of Transylvania being drawn out by a horse carriage to the little village that he has to stay in. That's like kind of a little hotel ran by gypsies. It just feels so authentic. It gave me like the Revenant vibes, which that movie captured an era and a time that none of us were there for, but you can feel like this weird nostalgia for. And every performance outside of Count Orlok was astounding. From Nicholas Hoult as Thomas, we know Willem Dafoe is always going to give a banging performance, very obscure and quirky. Ralph Ineson and Aaron Taylor-Johnson dig deep too, but I really dug the performance by Simon McBurney as Herr Knock, who's pretty much like the Renfield, the servant to Nosferatu. He just had some powerful deliveries, some intense realism, and some brutal and just some insane fucking dialogue, dude. He genuinely scared me. But the biggest tip of the hat, other than Bill Skarsgård, has to be Lily Rose Depp. Like, every single person in this movie delivers a flawless performance. Their character work never breaks, other than maybe Aaron Taylor-Johnson wasn't as fine-tuned as the rest, but that's excusable. But Lily Rose, literally, I've never seen anyone act like that. Other than like character works, like people like Bill Skarsgård, who does all these characters, Tim Curry, actors that usually portray monsters, they can dig deep and lock in. But the way Lily is supposed to be, but the way the character Ellen is supposed to be the protagonist that you're rooting for, and she's going through all these possessions and dark-seated traumas. You have to like her, but also understand that when she's going crazy and mad, you can't be mad at her, and her delivery is just insane. Like, she looks mentally exhausted the entire film. Nothing in her face breaks. A big underrated thing in acting is how you structure the emotion on your face, because you can deliver lines and sometimes people can see right through that. But Lily, I swear to God, dude, it was probably one of the dopest performances I've ever seen from like a final girl damsel in distress, and it was just so layered and deep. And this whole entire movie is layered and deep and fascinating, and it just tells a story of love and chaos. And that's a big thing too, as one-sided as the whole Nosferatu infatuation seemed, until she realizes that she belongs with Thomas and Nosferatu comes back into play. to steal her love back. Like, the fact that this immortal, ancient being that has pretty much no known origin to anyone, even the Doctor, fucking Willem Dafoe's character, it's all through love. And that's always why I've kind of loved vampires. They're always depicted as a bad guy, as the villain, as the, you know, deceiver, but it all stems to some sort of love and internal need for nurture and companionship, and that's really deeply and darkly beautiful. It's ironic how poetic it is. And as gritty as Nosferatu gets in this movie, as ruthless he gets, he does some brutal kills, some dark things, like you kind of understand where he's coming from, but then you're also rooting for Ellen and her husband, and you're also rooting for Orlok to get the love he deserves, so it's very conflicting. Because Ellen, and maybe I'm missing something from my research and watching the film, Ellen does have this deep, dark-seated, entrenched history with Nosferatu, but I feel like they don't get more into it. I try to do some more research to try to find where it stemmed from, and it just kind of be that character has just always had that supernatural ability to connect to things like that, and that's kind of just it. If I'm missing anything, please comment down below and let me know if there's more that you know. But yeah, but the movie is just so good. It's a little winded. It runs a very long time. I mean, there was a point when I was in the theater watching it, and it didn't drag on, but there was a point where I was like, Willem Dafoe's character didn't even come in yet, and I was like, dude, I swear this movie's been on for like 2 hours. It's just structured like a novel, and I love films like that. And the historical tie-ins too are very important. Like I said, yes, it is kind of a knockoff of Dracula, so there is a scene where Orlok has to travel through the boat, and there is a nice scene that doesn't heavily focus on it, but shows moments of like the Voyage of the Demeter, which we just had a movie about that recently, but this one does it good. I like a lot too that none of these people other than Willem Dafoe's character even is remotely aware of what a vampire really could be. Like, a lot of times in these old-timey movies, they're all aware of the surroundings of what a vampire is and what it does, and they do show that when Thomas does get to Transylvania and stays in the little village, and all these gypsies are kind of like grave robbing to find who is vampires in the village, but even that kind of went over Thomas's head until he finds out. And like, there's a lot of history into the movie, like to the point where even when Nosferatu, he comes to the land from the boat and sends thousands of rats among the city for a plague, which this movie takes place in 1813, and there was a plague in 1813 around Malta, which maybe for the film that is tying into that historic significance, or it's just coincidence. I'm not trying to read too deep into it. But yeah, there's just so much about this movie I want to talk about. So if you guys want a spoiler review, comment down below. If this can get 50 likes, I'll do one. I just wanted to talk about it because it was just a fun fucking movie. But yeah, the entire film is just flawless. From the opening scene of Orlok's voice and chanting Ellen, all the way to the final frame of the movie, the haunting, dreary, and morbid picture that you see as the credits roll, it's just insanely good. And this movie deserves Oscars all around the board. Like I said, so many people are like, nah, The Lighthouse is still his best movie, and there's no way you can go in to watch this movie from everything that was done, from the music score to the design to the storytelling to the acting to the whole vibe, and you watch something like The Lighthouse and say The Lighthouse is better. Yeah, we're at the point where it's been a few years, so The Lighthouse is very acclaimed and nostalgic to people, but I'm just sorry, like, this movie has not one single flaw in it upon first view. I'll watch it again and try to find something, but I did not see anything bad in this movie whatsoever. And I told y'all, I already warned y'all I was going to glaze it. But yeah, guys, this movie was fucking sick. Have you seen it? Please comment down below and let me know. You got to see it in theaters before it gets out. This is going to be my last feature video of 2024. This year has been in the making that was so insane. My most successful year on YouTube yet, and it means a lot to me, so thank you so much who has been sticking around. This was so much fun. Please comment down below what videos you guys want to see coming next, because I got some great ideas, but I want your input. I want to do videos. The From Dusk Till Dawn one that's up was all on you guys, and it's been doing pretty well. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Please subscribe, give me a thumber, hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here. And I'm going to say it one time for the one time and two times for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror.
But I'd never been so happy.